.NET 5 has just been released, and you might be thinking, how will that affect your ASP.NET Core application? In this video, we're going to have a look at 5 questions that you might have when running ASP.NET Core for .NET 5. Now, for more ASP.NET Core coding tutorials, visit roundthecode.com, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/roundthecode, and follow us on Twitter, it's @roundthecode. So question 1 is, what version of Visual Studio 2019 do I need? Well, you'll need version 16.8 or above to run ASP.NET Core for .NET 5. If you're not using Visual Studio, then you'll need MSBuild 16.8 or above. The easiest way to install MSBuild is to download the .NET 5 SDK. So question 2 is the word core being removed from ASP.NET Core? And you might think that might be the case considering they're removing the word core from .NET 5, but the answer is no, it's still going to be known as ASP.NET Core. And I think the reason being is that the ASP.NET for .NET Framework was just called ASP.NET, so it might get a little bit confusing. Now, looking at this article from Daniel on the ASP.NET blog, it looks like they're referring it to ASP.NET Core for .NET 5. So question 3 is, what's happening with future versions of .NET? Well, from now on, there's going to be a major release of .NET every November. So you can see from this article that .NET 5 will be released in 2020, .NET 6 will be released in November 2021, and so on. It's worth noting as well that all even-numbered .NET versions will have long-term support. So that will include .NET 6 and .NET 8. So question 4 reads, what's the future of .NET Standard? Well, .NET 5 is supposed to produce a single runtime and framework, so .NET Standard won't go beyond version 2.1. The good news though is that if you've got a .NET Core class library or .NET Standard class library, you can use it in your ASP.NET Core for .NET 5 application. Now, I say that cautiously because there might be some NuGet packages that might cause some conflicts, but it is possible, and I'm going to show you in this demonstration. So on the screen you can see that we've already created an ASP.NET Core for .NET 5 application. We're now going to go ahead and create 2 class libraries. The first class library is going to be a .NET Core 3.1 class library, and the second one is going to be a .NET Standard 2.1 class library. So let's go ahead and do that. And what we're going to do is we're basically going to add references to the ASP.NET Core 5 application to check that it's okay, that it builds properly. So first things first, we're going to create a new project. We're going to go for class library, and we're going to go for .NET Core class library. So let's give it a search. Right, so here we go. We've got a class library for .NET Core. Let's click next. I'm going to call it .NET Core 3.1. There we go, and we're going to make sure that it's set to .NET Core 3.1. As you can see there, that's already the case. Right, next we're going to create another class library, so another new project, and this time we are going to create a .NET Standard one. So we'll click on that. I'm going to call it .NET Standard 2.1. Okay, so we're just going to make sure that that is set to .NET Standard 2.1. It is now. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to add both of those dependencies as project references to the ASP.NET Core application. So we're going to do that. Click OK. And we're going to run a build and just see if it's going to build okay. So there you go, you can see it's successfully built. Let's just check that the actual application is going to run. So let's give it a run and see if it's actually going to work. So there you go, you can see that the application is running. So it's definitely possible to run .NET class libraries in .NET Standard and .NET Core on an ASP.NET for .NET 5 application. So question 5 is, what's the difference between ASP.NET Core 3.1 and ASP.NET Core for .NET 5? Well, to demonstrate this, what we're going to do is we're going to update ASP.NET Core Web API to version 5. So in front of me, I've got the actual application here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to have a look at startup and see how it's configured. So in here we've got a DB context, so we've got entity framework, and we've also got Signal R as well. Okay, so now we're going to update it to version 5. So let's right click on the project and go to properties. Let's set the target framework to .NET 5. So from there, what we want to do is we want to update the NuGet packages as well, so they point to version 5. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to update it to version 5. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if it's actually going to build. And once it's built, we're going to try and run it in Postman to see if the API endpoints are running. So we can see it's successfully built. So let's run the project now and see if it's actually going to run in Postman. So we're going to run one of the endpoints. Okay, so we've got one of the endpoints there. So let's give it a test and see if it's going to run. So there we go. We can see our actual web API is running, and it's now running in .NET 5. So just before we go, what we want to have a look at is we just want to see, if we stop the application now, we just want to see if there's any sort of warnings that are coming up in the startup file. As you can see, there's no sort of warnings there, so there's no change there. Let's just go into the program now. So as you can see, this is familiar to how you do it in ASP.NET Core 3.1. We haven't changed any code at all in the program class or in the startup class. So it's very simple to upgrade your .NET Core 3.1 project to .NET 5. So I hope that gives you a few more ideas as to what to expect if you're thinking about upgrading your ASP.NET Core project to .NET 5. Now, if you've got any questions or comments about this video, please get in touch with me. Now, thanks very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.